Ephesians 6 verse 11. So nakasulat dito na put on the whole armor of God that you may be able to stand against the schemes of the devil. Basahin ko na lang din yung verse 12. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against rulers, against the authorities, against the cosmic powers over this present darkness, against spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly places. So we go back sa verse 11. Ito na yung, again, isa sa mga huling habili ni Paul. And uniquely, sinasabi dito ni Paul na there is a constant battle sa ating mga Christians. Yes, there is the struggle in the world, at the same time struggle in the flesh. But ultimately, nire-remind sa atin ni Paul na meron din tayong enemy, no? Which is emphasized on verse 12. But we have to remember, since yung audience ni Apostle Paul here is the Ephesian church, so they're already Christians. So we have to remind ourselves na yes, meron tayong enemy, but at the same time, this enemy has no longer power over us.
Yeah.
'Di ba? Kasi dominate na ni Jesus 'yun. Jesus already brought the victory already. So but despite of that, yun na nga, there's still a constant battle. And so meron siyang ginagawang schemes. Similar sa mga schematics. Meron siyang plans. Meron siyang detailed plans, and he's very oriented and he's very smart in doing what he wants to do, which is this schemes encompasses every sin, every immoral practice, every lies of the enemy, every enticement of the world, things that would distract us Christians in pursuing more about God, pursuing God. Kasi nga, the enemy can no longer, hindi na tayong kayang ma-defeat na enemy. Sabi ng Romans 8:38-39, but no one can snatch us away anymore from God. Not even the schemes of the enemy. And so, ang ginagawa na lang ng enemy, dinidistract niya tayo, robbing us of the joy, robbing us of the peace, and all of these things, making us distracted not to focus on God.
Yeah.
So, yun yung plan niya. Kasi hindi niya tayo kayong patayin. He can't. Meron na tayong victory in Christ. And so, the discuss dito, in verse 11, yung whole armor of God. This is mentioned the first time, and ito yung magiging metaphor ni Paul in the following verses. And so we go back to verse 12, for we do not wrestle against flesh and blood. Na Paul is, telling us that we should not be ignorant of this fact na meron talaga tayong enemy. And yung enemy natin is not our brothers and sisters in Christ. Usually, pag meron tayong problem with within the church, meron tayong problem with a certain person, hindi siya yung kaaway natin, hindi siya yung enemy. Yung enemy natin is emphasized on verse 12 na these are against the rulers, against authorities, against the cosmic powers, and etc. of the evil forces. So hindi natin whenever we have conflict with someone, it's not really, they are not our enemy. They're still our brothers and sisters in Christ that we have to be reconciled with. Because ultimately, ito yung enemy natin. Ito yung kakalabanin. Everyday na kinakalaban natin. And nakasulat dito sa verse 12 is to wrestle. If we put it in the Greek translation, it's a hand-to-hand combat mismo. And in a hand-to-hand combat, di ba, pag nakikipag-away ka, there is a struggle. Diba? Kasi opposing forces yun eh. So merong friction, merong struggle in between. So at the same time, for us Christians today, there is always a constant struggle in the flesh, at the same time against the enemy that we have to fight against. So we have to also remember one of the, isa sa mga na bring the victory ni God. Since we mentioned here, or Apostle Paul mentioned here, yung rulers, principalities, and etc. It's actually parang we can go back to Colossians 2:15. Because in Colossians 2:15, nakasulat dito, having disarmed principalities and powers, si Jesus, made public spectacle of them, triumphing over them in it. So we have to remember, Jesus already brought the victory. Diba? He already has the dominion of all of these things. And so yes, meron tayong enemy that have schemes and plans that can hurt us, make us distracted of all of these things. But we have to remember, si Jesus, meron na siyang victory over them at the end of the day. Yes, may struggle, pero we have to remember yung victory. Nandyan na. Mangyayari pa. Sinasabi ni Paul, this is not the proper response. Ito yung kailangan natin gawin, which is we need to stand firm in the faith against the enemy. And another similar verse of this is yung sa 1 Peter 5:8-9. So hindi ko siya nasulat, or I don't have the exact verses here, but it talks about being sober-minded, being watchful of the enemy, prowling like a lion, at the same time standing firm in the faith. Kasi nga, yung role ni enemy is to push us away from the faith, make us distracted, make us doubtful, and all of those things para hindi tayo mag-focus kay God. Punta tayo sa Ephesians 6:14. Nakasabi dito, stand therefore, having fastened on the belt of truth, that's the first part na na-mention ni Paul, and having put on the breastplate of righteousness. So since we are not talking about yung literal, si Paul, ginagawa niyang metaphor yung literal na armor. So yung first na discuss dito is yung belt of truth. Now yung belt, ako mahilig ako tingin ng yung mga old na mga gera-gera, yung mga ganyan. So medyo iba yung armor nila sa noon, 'di ba? Iba rin yung ngayon, yung sa military na ngayon. Pero yung noon is one of their equipments is yung belt. Kasi yung belt nagpo-protect siya ng abdomen ng part ng tao. At the same time, yung belt na yun that wraps around the abdomen, yun yung nag-gird sa mga garments. Meaning, for example, may cloth, and then there's the belt, para walang loose ends, para walang maglaylay ng mga loose ends, merong belt to tighten those loose ends. And so what Paul now, in a spiritual sense, is saying, this belt of truth puts on the biblical beliefs of Christians as a whole. Meaning, that may mga loose ends tayo sa life. Maybe we have questions. What if hindi tayo firm about homosexuality, about depression, about all of these things. So we have to surround ourselves, any loose ends in our spiritual lives, it is the biblical truths yung mag-firm up. It is the biblical truths na yung magsasakto ng lahat para walang mga loose ends in a spiritual sense. Diba? We are sinners, but the moment that we come in faith, that we have believed in the message of the gospel, now we can call God Abba Father. Now we have made peace with Him, the ultimate peace. And so now, knowing na meron na tayong peace kay God, then kaya nating harapin yung lahat. Kasi kaya natin, Lord, back up kita. Lord, nandiyan ka. Ikaw yung foundation ko. The gospel that saved me is because of you and for you. So, kaya kong harapin lahat. Kaya kong tumayo. Kaya kong tumindig. Kasi nga, meron akong good foundation. At the same time, it's shoes. Kasi nga, wherever we go, kung saan tayo dadalhin, where our feet will lead us, dapat present yung gospel. Present yung gospel whenever we speak, whenever we act, our sole purpose. So, it is always ready to share. At the same time, when the fight comes, maging firm foundation natin yung gospel. And so we go now next to the next part. In verse 16, in all circumstances, take up the shield of faith with which you can extinguish all the flaming darts of the evil one. While we live in this wretched world, that is a sinful world, we are going against the flow ng world. And there is resistance. There is battle. Battle in a physical sense, battle in a mental sense, battle in a sense of heart. And so for us to counter these things, minention yun ni Paul lahat, reminding us of the truth, reminding us of salvation, reminding us of the gospel, reminding us that we have to be diligent in the word, and all of these things. Kaya if isa ang magkulang, paano ka kung wala yung helmet? Paano na kung wala yung shoes? How can you stand firm? And of course, we are not perfect. At sometimes makakalimutan natin yung isang part, but good thing is, yun na nga, at the end of the day, it is God.
Yes.
Hindi makalimutan man natin yung shoes, si God magbibring yung shoes sa atin, reminding us, remember the gospel. Remember the salvation. Yes, kung pupunta tayo sa battle, makakalimutan natin isang part, but God is always with us, helping us, aiding us in the battle. Alam ni Lord, forgetful tayo. We are very forgetful people. Sometimes nakalimutan nga natin yung victories na binigay ni God sa atin.
Oo nga.
Diba? But the Lord is very patient and gracious with us. And He will be with us, equipping us with the right armor that we need every day.